How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Chucky, the series. This is Season 1, Episode 5, entitled Little Little Lies. This is from November 9th, 2021, and is once again directed by Leslie Libman. Leslie Libman did the last episode, so I'm thinking the director structure is going to be Don Mancini on the ends. Then we had the last guy that did 2 and 3, and then Leslie did 4 and 5, so I'm thinking someone else will do 6 and 7, which will lead to Don Mancini doing the finale. Just a guess, though. But anyway, directed by Leslie Libman, stars, once again, Zackary Arthur as Jake, and Brad Dourif as Chucky. Now, this is a good episode as always. There's a little bit of downtime, and it is one of those I think everything's gonna be okay episodes. But this episode does transition into the second half of the show. This is episode 5 of 8 episodes. So this is the first episode of essentially phase 2, and we can see how the show is changing. First of all, we have a team. We have, Team Jake. We have Jake, Devin, and Lexi. And the first half, Jake was pretty much on his own, and it was him with Chucky whispering into his ear. But now Jake has friends. He has a network of people, and he's trying to fight Chucky. And we also, on the second half, are starting to introduce more of the old characters. In the first episode, I believe, we had Andy on the phone, but that was about it for the old characters. It confirmed that they were there, but they stayed pretty much out of the first half. In this episode, we get a little bit of 2 of the old characters. I won't spoil what exactly they're doing or up to, but we do get 2 characters showing up again towards the end of this episode. And I am kind of curious about a few things, seeing these new characters. One is it does talk a lot about what happened in Cult of Chucky. And if you guys didn't see Cult of Chucky, I'd love to know, can you keep up with this? In Cult of Chucky, Chucky learned from the internet a new voodoo power, and it was something the series hadn't really done before. So I am curious, if you haven't seen Cult, could you keep up with what's going on? I'm also curious, and this is just what we're going to see in future episodes, how well the old cast will integrate with the new cast. I don't want either group to be pushed aside, and I want them to team up and mesh together really well, and I want it to, I want it to work seamlessly, but I'm hoping one group doesn't push the other down, and I'm hoping this show doesn't, shift radically. So, we'll see. I'm hoping they team up nice, But yeah, it was a cool surprise to see the old characters finally show up. Well, kind of a surprise. The foreshadowing heavily flashbacks rather, heavily hinted at what would happen. But also, if you read the opening credits, it tells you who's going to be in the episode. And also the episode description said what would happen as well. But it still was cool to see them show up and, figure out, what they're up to, what they're doing showing up in this town. So yeah, I'm curious where the show's going to go. We're into phase 2 right now, into the second half. And, it's interesting to see where things are going. With all that being said, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the episode's about. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. We open up with Lexi's little sister waking up. That's good. She's a young girl. Jake definitely didn't want her to be hurt at all in the fire. So she wakes up and immediately demands for Chucky. She does a lot of screaming and demanding in this episode. I don't know if it's supposed to be that Chucky got to her or something, or maybe it's just the fire is shaking her up too much. But she screams and demands for Chucky, and the dad goes, "Well, you see, honey, Chucky also got a boo-boo in the fire," and takes the doll out And of course the little girl screams, you know, she is terrified of Chucky's messed up face, and the dad throws Chucky in the garbage chute. And then you get this fun scene where Chucky gets out of the trash and he's covered with needles sticking out of his head and stuff. You know, just covered with needles, and he's like, ah, this is the good stuff. I love hospitals, you know? So Chucky is once again out of sight. Lexi comes in, asks where the doll is. Oh, I threw him away. And the new team, you know, Jake, Devin, and Lexi, go to find Chucky. And you get the gross scene where they're poking around in the big medical waste trash can. And I'm like, gee, I don't know if you want to do that. That's kind of dangerous, you know. But of course they don't find Chucky in there, and they're like, well, he must be out there somewhere. We got to find him. We then Lexi and her younger daughter or younger sister go back to their house. It of course has to be repaired, and Lexi's mom is very, very angry at her, which, I mean, I get she did burn the whole house down, well, half the house down. Well, it wasn't really her, but the mom doesn't know that. And the dad is actually having to stand up for her, say, hey, you really do have to raise your family, and you can't just be mad at her the whole time. You know, you're focusing too much on being the mayor, and you have to be there for your kids. So the dad really does go to bat for his kids, which is nice. And one other thing he does that would normally be nice, but he doesn't know he's in a horror show, is he orders a new good guy doll on the internet for his younger daughter. So, you know, Lexi walks in and her younger sister has a brand new good guy doll. This one is named Tommy. And I am kind of curious. I'm like, was Tommy one of the names they said before? Because I believe it was in Cult. Cult of Chucky said that good guy dolls have 50 possible names, so there's a 2% chance for each name, including Chucky. Whenever I do want to do a movie series rewatch, I think I'm going to keep a list of all the good guy doll names they've mentioned so far. I'm curious if they've mentioned Tommy yet. But anyway, so there is a new good guy doll in the picture. There's always the chance for shenanigans with that. But then we move back to school. And in school, the chemistry teacher is trying to console the students about the deaths. And there's actually a really fun shot in here where it's Jake and he's kind of, you know, all sad about the deaths. And then the camera pushes aside and we get a bunch of the shots of literally every present day kill in the series. And they kind of wipe in and out of frame there, and then it pans back to Jake. So a really cool montage, you know, of like all the crazy things that have happened in this town since the series began. So that was a really cool shot. The teacher's called away for a minute to talk to the cop, and the team gets back together, and they start talking about what they're going to do, how they're going to fight Chucky, and they also talk about Junior. Are we going to tell Junior? And it's like, maybe we should, but there's no way he'll believe us, you know? And Junior actually walks up to the friend group. He's kind of curious why his girlfriend is hanging out with his cousin and not really talking to him. But there is this really fun joke where he's like coming in and he's like, hey, did you guys see Westworld? I love that show. And they're like talking about all this serious stuff and he just wants to talk about Westworld. I think that's the second Westworld joke they've made on this show. And I'm kind of wondering, I'm like, wait, okay, I didn't watch the Westworld show. Is like one of the actors here, is Junior from Westworld? Like, or did one of the writers work on Westworld previously? I don't know, it's just kind of weird that this is the second Westworld joke they've made. Maybe it's competing in some way, I don't know. But yeah, they don't really know what to do with Junior, and they have to find Chucky, and the thing is, Chucky is going to be really hard to, you know, defeat, especially granted the events of Cult of Chucky, which we'll probably get into in a few episodes, but yeah, it's going to be really hard to end Chucky once and for all. And there's a really fun scene at the ending. I won't spoil it, but this episode's death is quite a memorable kill, and it's something that you really don't see coming, and you're like, oh wow, that's going to definitely change things for the town there. So really fun to see that. A few other notes here. We do finally find out what the mom's secret is, and I won't spoil it, but it's different than I thought it would be, and I am curious to see how this plays out. And I'm glad, I thought it would be something like an affair, and I thought it was going to be super predictable, but you're like, oh wow, that really does change a lot, so I am curious to see when she tells people her secret, how it will impact everything. The other thing really worthy of note is the flashback sequences. You get to see a more grown-up Charles Lee Ray, and he's in the club scenes, and we get to see him hanging out with a young Tiffany. And that's sort of a thing that I'm really glad we got to see, is because when Tiffany was introduced, they said, oh, Tiffany used to date Chucky, but we never got to see any of it, and you're kind of wondering what that relationship would have been like before the supernatural, back when they were both human, So I am glad that we got to see a little bit of the two of them dating, and I realized, it's not a big secret origin for Chucky, it's just a lot of moments that, made up his life that we're finally getting to see, and just a fan theory, but I'm betting in one of the next 2 episodes we'll get to see him learn voodoo, right? Just a theory, I haven't heard this confirmed anywhere, but if we're looking at moments in Charles Lee Ray's life that need to be explored, we gotta see him learning voodoo, right? But anyway, this is a good episode. A little slower until you get to like the crazy moments at the end, some good and memorable stuff. We're introducing that other good guy doll. We're introducing the old cast members. We're getting the team together. And also, Jake and Devin are spending more time together. And I really do like that this relationship does seem natural. This is one thing with the show that I was worried it'd be a little too cheesy or it just wouldn't play out right. But this relationship between the two of them does seem really organic, and we're going to see how that plays out in future episodes, especially considering Devin's mom begins to figure this out as well. She knew a lot beforehand, but, she sees them, and she's going to have to figure out what to do with that. But overall, a really fun episode, setting the stage for Phase 2, and I really am curious what we're going to see in the future, because there was a lot of fun stuff in here, and that death at the end was big and over the top, one of Chucky's more showy kills, and I am curious that the town is going to have to address this one. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. That should be my Child's Play / Chucky playlist. If you guys want to see my previous reviews for every episode in the series, you can see them there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Chucky playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.